What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. Okay, just I guess continuing on this little trend that we have for the rest of the year. We'll see how many videos I can milk this for. But I wanted to share with you my 5 biggest lessons learned in 2022 when it comes to Splinterlands. So I'm going to dive into each of these topics. You can see them here on the screen, and this is in no particular order. I just wanted to share some of the things that I feel like I've learned. Now, I'm not saying that this is investment advice. This is not financial advice. I'm not saying that this is the right thing to do. I'm not even saying that my perspective is the correct one. I'm just saying that this is what I've seen, what I've learned, and what I'm sharing with you. So I'm always open to getting your perspective, and I am actually very interested to see how you guys view the game, because sometimes it alerts me to the blind spots that I may have. So, number 1, and this is a great example of that, I no longer view cards as investments. I went way too heavy, and people are going to point this out, so I want to make sure that I address it head on. I went way too heavy on Venari Wavesmith and Jin O'Shaughnessy when they were at the height of the bull run, and I bought them for a lot. And then rode that thing all the way down to like the pennies and dollars that they are currently selling for. So what is my point with this? If you look back at some point last year when I first came in, I was looking at cards and I called them digital real estate, because I was like, oh, well, you can buy cards and you can hold them to let them appreciate in value over time. And you can also rent them out while you're doing it, you know? And so like, it's a win-win situation. This is like the best, this is like the best situation ever, right? You know, why wouldn't you want to do that? There's no maintenance cost. There's no upkeep. You pay a 5% fee whenever you sell or buy or rent them out. But on the whole, they're earning you something, right? So when that mentality shifted for me is when the meta shifted. So when January came around and Ulrich Stormbringer was no longer in the starter cards, the ghost cards, bots could no longer use it. So Jin O'Shaughnessy and Venari Wavesmith lost their value like overnight, and those values plummeted. So what that taught me is, and I know people are going to look at that and be like, oh, well, you got burned once, but don't, lose hope. Don't lose sight of the bigger picture. But what it showed me is that cards are not only subject to the broader market, but there are other factors which will impact how their value is either held, lost, or gained. And that is the game meta. And that's huge, because there is literally zero control over that. I mean, it could happen in a good way, where all of a sudden, like the new, Rebellion Summoner has a plus +1 magic for Earth, or not for Earth, for water, and all of a sudden they come back in style, right? And there's probably still going to be tons of them out at that point in time. But the point being is that they are not. I don't like to view them as investments. I view them as, I buy cards to play with, and I will earn playing those cards, and I will also enjoy myself playing the game with the cards. If I have extra, sure, I'll rent them out and I'll earn something on them, and I will take what I earn in the game and put it back in buying more cards that I need for my deck. But the way that I'm operating now is not buying cards to rent them out. I buy cards that I will eventually need if I'm going to get to a max level deck. And, for example, if I have like a level 3 legendary card, that's 6 BCX. Now, if I'm only able to buy like 2 more BCX right now, there's no point in combining it, because it's not going to give me any extra boost. I would still need an additional 3 BCX to get it to level 4. So I take those 2 extra cards, leave them at level 1, and then rent them out. And that's kind of just what I've been doing with my entire deck, right? Like, I am capping most of the deck out at gold, and anything extra, I am just instead of leveling up or combining, I'm just renting it out, earning some passive income from that, which pretty much then goes into buying more cards for my deck, right? So I just don't like I just don't like viewing cards as an investment anymore. And I know there's a lot of people who very fundamentally disagree with that. And I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying that for me, this is not the path that I choose to go. And we'll get more into this in number 5, you can see. Number 2, this is something I've been mulling about recently with all of the chatter around game features. I am not opposed to a better game. I'm not opposed to new features, new game modes, and all of that stuff. I want everything to be nice and shiny and polished and have a AAA feel. But personally, I have definitely come to the conclusion that the best marketing in a play-to-earn game, which Splinterlands is very much so, the best marketing is high earnings. And at this point in time, with Soulbound reward cards on the way, with potions and merits and chests and all that stuff now, it's really just SPS. So getting SPS to a respectable level, respectable value, is what is going to bring people into the game. So at this point in time, I think we're still a little bit further away from that. But all of this idea of like marketing to Web 2 players and trying to get Magic the Gathering and all that, I've talked about this extensively in other videos and on live streams. We're not going to pull in Web 2 players. Web 2 players don't care at all about this and about NFTs. If anything, they don't like NFTs. And I've said this before. I played Gods Unchained, and Gods Unchained is a very polished game compared to Splinterlands. It feels so good. It reminds me of Magic the Gathering. It looks and feels like Magic, MTG Arena, and Hearthstone. It has that feel. It doesn't have the earnings though. But my point is, if you're trying to pull in Web 2 players, they're playing for the love of the game. They're not playing to earn, right? They don't care about the earnings. Now, if they have a game that's similar to Magic the Gathering, that feels as polished and as nice, but they can make a cup of coffee every week, right? A couple bucks, they will probably steer towards that because they can play Gods Unchained for free or for much less than getting into something like Splinterlands to earn. The people who are going to get into Splinterlands are the people who love the tokenomics. They love the investment side. Yes, it's a phenomenal game. I'm not trying to take anything away from the game. But at the end of the day, the best marketing is going to be high earnings, and it's going to pull in a lot of people who are just like me, who came for the investment, but enjoyed the game and the community, and over time became very much, involved with all of it. So I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think the idea of like attracting investors is terrible. Sure, I keep saying that 2022 has washed out all of the investors, and it's left the people that love to play the game. Well, I'm being honest with you. I was one of those investors, but I did learn to love playing the game and to treat it like a game. And I'm not the only one. Look around the community. We're not down to 8,000 players anymore. I would think that we are, definitely multiples of that. Even if we do have like 100,000 bots or whatever it is, whatever the number actually is. But the point is, there's more people now than there were 3 years ago. So I think that, sure, you may not view it as a healthy way for a game to grow, but that's kind of how crypto works. You have these huge boom and huge bust cycles. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. It's just you're going to have to deal with a bunch of complaining along the way. But if you can get the game into a good place from an economy standpoint, then you're going to get people who come in because they know that they can earn from the game, and they come in and they stick around because they love what the game has to offer them. So that's where features come in. That's where features come in and are important, is going to be at that time. And I think it's a good thing that the team is building it out now, so that when the next bull run comes around, or if the team can get the tokenomics into a good place and we get SPS pump and be this green candle in a sea of red, then you never know what could happen even in a bear market as people look for projects. Now, I will cap this number 2 with 2 projects that I saw go boom and bust as well. But really, the hype cycle around them was mainly because of the earnings. And it was DeFi Kingdoms at the beginning of the year, and then STEPN maybe in like March or April. Now, they had the same issues with as Splinterlands. They printed a bunch of tokens, and eventually all of those lost value. So now they're at the same level, and they exist on Solana or Harmony, whatever chain. Well, we don't need to get into that. But the point is, I wasn't even really like looking for games at that point, at that time. But the games found me because the earnings were high and I wanted to get involved, right? So again, I think that is going to be the best marketing, is to find crypto native, crypto adjacent, crypto savvy people who are looking for cool games and want to get into it. And so I think Splinterlands can get it right. Hopefully we'll be able to pull in more people. Okay, number 3. This one's important. take profit from airdrops. I think this is just a general rule for me that I've learned now, is to take profit from like any kind of gain. But more specifically, when when stuff is being printed, when money's being printed or value's being printed out of thin air, take some profit from it, because most likely it's going to go down to zero or down to whatever, right? So I feel very proud of myself for doing this with GLX. And here's the thing. In the long run, someone like Gene Pool, right, who went really heavy into GLX, might actually has a good chance of coming out very far ahead with all the GLX that he has. But his time preference is different than mine, right? And I think that's the important thing for me to recognize, is that I don't want to sit here and be salty for the next 3 years until the next bull run goes around because I didn't sell any of my GLX when it was over 30 cents, right? I feel very happy that I sold a good amount of GLX when it was over 30 cents, when it was over 25 cents. I feel happy selling it today, right? Because for the next year, it's just going to be given out for free. And so I wholeheartedly agree that the GLX tokenomics are in a better place than the Splinterlands one. But I'm not even really talking about just GLX. The lesson is that I should have taken more profit from SPS. I shouldn't have been such an SPS bull that I was just taking everything and restaking it right away. I think it would have done me better to have some dry powder on the side, to understand where the token was headed, and to know that anytime there's an airdrop or a high distribution or dilution process that's in place, you got to take some profit. You just got to do it. So that is number 3, and I'm proud of myself for doing it with GLX, and I have every intention of doing it continually with any other project that comes out, Splinterlands related or not. Okay, number 4. Shout out to Aggie on this one, because when he was in his like full Chief FOMO mode back in Q3 or September, and he was saying like, be prepared, you won't be able to own everything. I took that to heart. I really, really took that to heart. And now I have zero intention of maxing out my Chaos Legion deck. I have zero intention of maxing out my Rift Watchers deck. I have zero intention of owning every single card in the game. And I'm okay with that. I am totally at peace with that, because it becomes this huge money sink. And part of it is like, okay, do I want to be a collector, or do I want to play a game that I really enjoy and just get the cards that I need? Well, I'm not really a collector, at least not in that sense, right? I like the card collection that I have, but I don't need everything for my own like self-esteem. Would I like it just for the utility? Yeah, absolutely. But I also don't need it. And I don't know that I necessarily need to get every new card that ever comes out. Now, that being said, I was also in a different place a year ago where I didn't have any cards. I had barely any cards in the game. So going heavy into Chaos Legion early, to go from playing in bronze and silver with starter cards up into gold and obviously now diamond, which is fantastic, it feels good. I enjoy playing the game. I'm excited for a lot of the other social aspects that will come in, like 2v2 and Battle Pass and all this other stuff. I don't need the flex of being a champion level player. To me, this is something that I want to enjoy. I want to play with friends. I want to play with the community. I want to get better at. And, ultimately, that's going to be okay. I don't need to own everything and be at the top of the leaderboard and champion. I don't even think that I'm that good at the game. So, if that tells you anything, for me, it's the enjoyment of it. And that makes me happy and brings me actually quite nicely into the 5th and final point, which is to separate out the game from investment. And this is something that took me a while to do, but I would say, I don't know, maybe a month or 2 ago, I really felt like I found my stride with it. So what do I mean by this? My investment into the game is no longer tied up, and I'm no longer like emotional about it, because it's not like, oh, I just want to like own all the cards and my collection earns me such and such ROI. Like, I don't even think about that anymore. My investments within the game are strictly within the investment vehicles that exist within the game, such as node licenses or LPs or buying and staking SPS. I don't view those as something that I need to use for the game. And there's no crossover. At least I do my best not to have any crossover, as little crossover as possible. So I'm playing the game with my deck. When I go and rent cards, it's not coming from the investment side. There's no crossover there. I am taking the earnings that I make. I am either reinvesting them back into leveling up my deck, reinvesting them into playing tournaments, reinvesting them into renting cards that I need, but they're completely separated out. And I have to tell you, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever other Lee you can think of, I just feel so much better about it. I really, really do, because now I get to enjoy the game for the love of the game itself and not worry about, did I make enough this season, right? Did I come away? Was it worth my effort? Was it worth my time? I don't even think about that. I just like, did I have fun? Did I play some games? Did I, do all my brawls and support my guild? Did I get into some tournaments and place well? Yeah, I did. Great. That was fun. Oh, I made some extra on the side. Well, let's go and take that and buy some more cards with it. And then everything else is left separate. I have my LP positions, my nodes, and I've been try to be very transparent about that. Like, I'm actively selling out of a lot of those positions because, sorry, not selling. I'm selling the rewards out of those positions to have that dry powder and capital if things go south further. So, yeah, separate out the game from investment. I think that's a really difficult thing to do. And so this is not to say like, oh, I'm amazing because I did it. I'm just trying to share it because I didn't think it was possible, right? Like a year ago, I wasn't thinking along that mindset of like, oh, like it just, to me, everything in the game was an investment. And it took, like I said, it took a long while to separate that out. But I feel very good moving forward, combined with everything else here, right? I feel very good moving forward that I will be able to get some value, right? Financially, emotionally, fun-wise, I will be able to get value from Splinterlands in the way that I want to, and not feel like I am just all over the place. So hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, those are the 5 biggest lessons I've learned. Again, not in any particular order, but I would love to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on these? What are some of the biggest lessons you have learned in 2022 from Splinterlands? And I guess we can broaden it out to play to earn in general. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I'll catch you all in the next video and see you around the game. Take care.